Hey there, YouTubers. I thought I'd post this next video to provide some background about who I am, especially for the guys out there who I know are pretty much living in the closet and not expressing themselves more openly about their interest in trans women. I'm doing this so that you can see that there are guys just like yourself out there who are interested in trans women, and that those guys are pretty normal. I don't consider myself gay or bi or bi. In fact, none of these labels really apply to me because I have found that my interest in trans women has nothing to do with my sexual orientation. Well, I feel kind of nervous talking about this because it's pretty close to the core of who I am. All of my friends know that I exclusively date trans women, and I have male friends and female friends who know about it. My business associates know about it. I'm pretty much totally out about it, and everyone has pretty much accepted me. So if you're in a closet about it, or maybe you're just questioning your own sexual orientation around dating trans women, I would encourage you to continue that path of exploration, because I think you're going to discover that you're just a normal guy who has a particular interest. I guess I've been interested and out about dating trans women for about 3 years, but the process has occurred over probably, well, actually all my life, but more specifically over the last 5 to 7 years. I had dated some amazingly cool women throughout my life, but none of those relationships really resonated with me. So invariably, my relationships with women tended to fall apart. And about 5 years ago, I met this fabulous psychiatrist. I'm not going to use his name because I don't know if he'd be okay with that, but he does his psychological practice based on the teachings of Dr. David Snarch, who wrote this book called Passionate Marriage. Go get it. It's a fabulous relationship self-help tool. But in his counseling, he encourages people to consider the role that they play in the context of their relationships. And I really liked what he had to say, and so I wanted to begin taking what he was teaching into my own relationships with these women. And it turned out that as I would do that, I wanted more and more to take my girlfriend with me to go visit this psychologist. So I started going over the course of probably 5 relationships. I would bring my my girlfriends to this guy, this counselor, and I'm sure he was thinking in his head, "My goodness, Perry, what are you doing?" but then he probably was thinking, "Wow, I'm making pretty good money on this deal." Anyway, none of those relationships seemed to work out. But what was being uncovered in these counseling sessions was that, you know, these women were okay, and I was okay too. It was just that I was looking for something in my relationships that cisgendered or genetic women could not provide. Things like a rational approach to the relationship, a more logic and reasoning in the context of the things we had to deal with in the relationships. And over time, over these 5 or so relationships that I brought to this counselor, the counselor finally took me aside and he said, "Hey, Perry, I think you ought to go check out this other counselor and just go by yourself and visit. Take a few visits and go see her." And so I went and visited this counselor, and she started to counsel me as if I was a gay person. And she really wanted me to explore the possibility that I was gay, but I knew in my heart that I wasn't. I knew that sure, I was seeking something that probably wasn't possible with a cisgendered person, but that didn't. I knew that I wasn't attracted to guys, and so it wasn't that the thing I was searching for was available in a relationship with a guy, because I have no sexual or romantic interest in a guy. And so after seeing that person for probably 7 visits or so, I walked away thinking, something's here that I should be looking at. And it just so happened that around that time, I had an encounter with a transgendered woman. And the relationship, the experience I had with that person, actually wasn't a relationship. It was a really brief encounter. But the encounter was so intense and such an amazing encounter. I mean, something was there with that person that I had not felt with any of the girlfriends I had dated before. It was as if all the pieces fit. And so it was from that moment forward that I realized something groundbreaking had taken place. Probably some of you may be thinking, well, it's all about the penis or all about the dick or the cock or whatever. And sure, there was something to that. Of course, that aspect of my sexual play was thrilling for me. And I had some genetic women in the past, genetic girlfriends who they and I had those kind of sexual experiences. So I knew that that was an amazing experience in terms of sexual experience. But there was something more with this transgender person that I had that just made it really, really click for me. From that moment on, I began to explore, what this was all about. And the more I began to dive into that exploration, the more I began to realize that my relationships with genetic girls was never going to match the experience that I had with that person. And so from that moment on, there was this gradual procession from dating genetic girls and being totally unsatisfied with the experience to having more and more frequent experiences with transgendered women and finding those experiences to be pretty freaking fabulous. So over time, probably over the period of the last 3.5 years or so, I began to realize that there was no going back. And one of my really good female friends, not going to use her name either because I don't know, she'd be okay with me saying it, but we had this intimate experience, and in the process of moving towards sexual intercourse, I just kind of lost it. I mean, I was like, this is not what I want to do. And I explained to her what was going on with me, and of course she was okay because we're best friends now, but back then it was a pretty traumatic experience for her, I'm sure, to be rejected right in the bedroom. But from that moment on, I realized that the whole vagina experience, I have had enough of that, and it wasn't going to go any farther. So it was from that relationship forward that I realized that transgendered women were the only women I wanted to date, and I've been doing that since. I've traveled around the world having relationships in the hopes of finding that one transgendered girl that could be with me for the rest of my life. Of course, I haven't found her yet, but I'm still searching. But my point of all of this is to give you some background of my own experience, where I've been, how it came to be that I now exclusively date trans women, and hopefully you get a sense that this isn't just a whim or a casual choice that I've made. There's something deeply spiritual in my experience of being with a transgendered person, and hopefully if I stick to the course of my intention of these videos, I'll explore that more deeply and share that with you so that you guys can see that there's something really special here that we have in our affinity with transgendered women and transgendered people in general. There's something special here. There's something spiritual. And if you have an affinity, if you have any sort of experience or interest in being with a transgendered person, don't feel that you're strange or weird or something like that. There's something spiritual here. There is a purpose that we are here to express in our affinity with the trans community. And for the trans women out there, I hope that you can get a sense, at least from me, that there are guys out there who are serious about dating you, who are seriously looking for a long-term relationship with you. They may not be at the point where they realize that themselves. They may be at the point where they're just exploring. They may be trying to figure out what the hell it is that's going on with them. But eventually, I totally believe that as time goes by, there's going to be more and more guys coming out, so to speak, with regard to these types of relationships. So I'll end it here and get more into depth about this in the next video. Thanks for listening. Sorry it took so long.